Everybody, my name is Danni Wells. Just enjoying a fizz stick, which is one of my most all-time favourite products. I've been drinking these for 11 years. B vitamin drinks. I used to have a nasty 8 cup of coffee a day habit, and you'd have like the high, and then you'd have the drop. But I've switched to these B vitamins. Absolutely beautiful. I'm having mine cold instead of hot, and it's lovely. So, a little bit about me and how I came across my business. So, going all the way back, because I've had my business for 11 years now. So going back in time, I had never actually heard of Arbonne. And I definitely didn't grow up as a child and teenager going, oh, when I'm an adult, I'm going to become an Arbonne consultant. I never even thought I'd even go into anything like sales. I actually trained in ophthalmology. So I worked for a popular high street opticians in the UK called Specsavers Opticians. And I absolutely loved what I did. I was one of those annoying employees that would literally skip to work. I was happy to be there. I was happy when I got like my 5 year badge for working there, my 10 year badge for working there. And I never imagined I'd do anything else. I was like, I'll be there until I retire. I absolutely loved my job. I loved helping people. I loved the clientele that would come in. I was not salesy at all. And I think that's why I was good at my job because I never saw myself as selling anything. I was always there to talk to people about what they needed, whether it was a new prescription, glasses, contact lenses, what their budgets were, what it was that they were interested in. And I genuinely cared about that person. And I do think that's why I was good at that job and why I'm good at this job because I'm not salesy at all. Not that salespeople are bad people, but like they have a bad rap, don't they? Of people that are all about themselves, all about what can I get. And I think when people are not like that, they're better at sales because they're not attached to the outcome. They're like just talking to somebody about options and they don't mind whether that person they talk to buys or not. They're not bothered. And that's where the good people come from. Anyway, I digress. So, what happened to us was me and my husband had 2 children at the time, and unfortunately, our second daughter had a stroke and a brain hemorrhage, and it literally came completely out of the blue. Like it was literally like the rug was pulled from beneath us. And the only way I can describe this period of time for us, because it was a traumatic time in terms of our daughter had a medical issue and she was in hospital. I had a year off work to be with her in hospital. It was an uncertain future. She was then diagnosed with cerebral palsy, and we were told that she would require 24/7 round the clock care, wouldn't walk, wouldn't talk, etc. Anyway, the only way I can describe this to people is like if you were working through the COVID times in 2020, where one day you're happy as Larry going to work, everything's all rosy, everything's good, you've got enough toilet roll, everything's amazing, and then literally overnight, lockdown hits, there's no toilet roll, there's no income coming in, you can't go to the food shops anymore. And you're literally like, one day it was fine and one day it's not. And that's what I mean by the rug from being pulled from beneath you. And if you could rewind when it came to COVID times and go, right, these are the things I would do differently. This is how I feel about Arbonne. When I tell people about this business, I'm like, I wish somebody had told me all these things because it would have made a difference when my daughter had her medical issues. It would have made our lifestyle differently. Like it wouldn't have been able to change the fact that she had a stroke and a brain hemorrhage and how insanely traumatic that was. But on top of that, we had the financial pressure of me not working for a year. My husband was working overtime in the week, plus weekends overtime. He has an autoimmune, and anyone with an autoimmune knows you shouldn't really be working all these extra hours. It's not good for yourself. So he was literally putting himself into an early grave. And I was watching this happen. It put strain on our marriage. It put strain on my relationship with our other daughter, who was healthy and at home. And she was literally passed from pillar to post. It was awful. It was such an awful period of time. And even though I had a year off work, I was still under the umbrella of Specsavers. And my boss basically rang me up and said, look, Danni, what are you doing? Are you coming back? And as much as I wanted to come back for me, for my own sense of purpose and who I am as a person, and because I enjoyed it, I also wanted to go back for the money, but I couldn't. I couldn't bring my daughter to work with me, and my daughter had to stay with me 24/7. She had seizures 3-4 times a week. We'd have to be rushed off in an ambulance. She had 4 or 5 appointments every single week. So it just didn't, there was no time in my life to go and work a job without my daughter. That it was an impossibility. So I had to say no. And we actually went on to benefits for a little bit where the government assists us and help us with money. And as grateful as what I am, I hated it. I hated it. I grew up in a council estate. My mum was 16 when she had me. My dad was in and out of prison. And I always said as a child, I would never, ever, ever be on state benefits. And there I was as a young adult on benefits. And there are people out there that genuinely do need that money, and that's what it's there for. It's there to help a small percentage of the population who genuinely need it. I felt like I didn't genuinely need it. I was like, I can work. I've got the physical ability to work. I've got the mental capacity to work, but my hands are tied behind my back because I'm literally taking my poorly daughter here, there, and everywhere to three different city hospitals. We were in Nottingham, we were in Leicester, we were in Loughborough, and it was a chaotic time. So we did go on to benefits, but I vowed I would get off them as quickly as I possibly could. So I was looking for something. I was actively looking for a way to make money, but my stipulations were it had to be around my daughter, it had to be something I could do from hospital. So I was basically looking for a laptop-based business. But the irony is I didn't have a laptop, I couldn't afford it, but I had a phone. So I was like, I need to work from my phone with my daughter, and my daughter needs to be my main priority. So it needs to be super flexible. So trying to find a job like this, it took 2 years. I did not find a job that existed. I found things that existed where they required loads of money. They were like, oh yeah, you can invest in stocks and shares, but I didn't have the money to do that. And they were like, you could buy property. I didn't have the money to do that. They were like, you could write a book and sell it on Kindle version on Amazon, but I didn't have the skills to do that. So there was things available, but I felt like I couldn't achieve that. So after 2 years of literally looking, scouring, getting more and more into debt, and by this point we'd got 40 grand into debt, and that's not because we were living the life of Riley. That was trying to pay our bills. And there was like our bills were like here and the money coming in was like here, so there was always a gap. We'd literally get paid, or my husband would get paid, we'd get our benefits, they'd last 2 weeks, and then the second 2 weeks of the month there was no heating going on, food was not good. I'm surprised my girls, they're now teenagers, like, oh, they're not really unhealthy, they are super healthy, but I'm surprised that they're not because of the money situation we had with food. So after 2 years, I actually was approached about Arbonne from somebody I was in the Air Cadets with from my previous life. So from my teenage life, I was in the Air Cadets with this girl called Emma. She reached out to me, basically said, I can see you having a really shitty situation. Let me tell you about this franchise that I've got involved with. It's from Switzerland. It's been around for 45 years and it's a really great company. And you'll be able to, if you decide that you're going to do it, you'll be able to do it flexibly. And she was like, meet me for a coffee, or we can talk on the phone or online and I'll tell you a bit about it. I was like, let's talk about it tomorrow. We booked in a slot and that was it. That's how I found out about Arbonne.